everyone, I'm Becky Taylor. I'm CEO and co-founder of an organisation called Tech Returners, and we support people returning to tech after a career break, and also the non-for-profit community conference Reframe Women in Tech, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail later.
Thank you. Aisha.
Hi everyone, I'm Aisha Ansari. I head up data and digital products for Sage. Sage is a 40-year-old tech company. We provide accounting, payroll, and HR solutions to small and medium businesses.
And Huma?
Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Huma Altaf, and I would like to begin with a little bit of background about myself. So I worked for around 10 years in India, US, and Mumbai. India, US, and Dubai for a fast-scaling startup company by the name of Zido, which was recently acquired by Warner Brothers Discovery. So after working for 10 years, I decided to take a career break. It was mostly to raise my 3 children and also to help my husband set up his award-winning startup, management.com. Before I knew it, 10 years had gone by. And as we all know, in this fast-changing tech industry, a 10-year gap can lead one to a point of no return. And that's exactly what happened with me. But luckily for me, I came across Tech Returners. It was the perfect program to bridge the gap between where I'd left and where I wanted to go. So here I am today. I'm now a Java developer with Booking.com. And thanks to Tech Returners, I work in the car rentals division and living my dream. Thank you.
Excellent. So we mentioned before the Breaking Barriers report, which is essentially why we're having this discussion today. So, Becky, I'm going to come to you, and if you could just give us a little bit of detail around the report, how it's been structured as well, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of an overview around Reframe Women in Tech. So back in 2019, I was 8 months pregnant with my second daughter, and I'm co-founder of a community meetup group called Women in Tech North. And we really want to make big pledges in the movement around diversity in tech. And I, myself, worked for startup, scale-up tech industries and found learning and development very inaccessible. All the conferences scaled from like £200 to £1,000 to attend. They weren't necessarily commutable for me. I was based in Manchester. So I pledged to make conferences basically more accessible to people. So since then, we've been on a mission to provide things like free childcare on site, low ticket prices. Like I said, it's non-for-profit, but we really want to reframe the narrative around women in tech and talk about the amazing role models and male allies that we've got in the industry. So last Reframe Women in Tech Manchester, we partnered up with Sage, who wanted to really get some insights around the barriers around women in tech in the industry. So what better way than a situation like this where we had 90% women in the room, and to really get that real data around the real barriers and people discussing it. And what we wanted to do with that is then turn it into an actionable report where we can share with people around the barriers, how you can overcome the barriers, and really help and support not only individuals but organisations around that. And this is the report that came out of that. So thank you so much to Sage for helping us bring that all together.
And a question to you, Aisha, is why was Sage so determined to be part of this this report? What was its importance for you at Sage?
So first of all, Sage's mission is to break down barriers. So that was, I think, the key theme, so that everyone can thrive. And this particularly, amongst our many business goals, it applies to women in technology as well. Because we know that, the more women we have in a business, the more efficient, capable, diverse thoughts we'll have and we'll thrive. That's like the number one kind of purpose for us. Building upon that, we know through this report and many others, the biggest gaps on this industry in particular is women in technology. So we understand that, we appreciate it, and that's why we want to build it in our strategy. So going on to our FY24 fiscal year, from a UKI D&I perspective, we wanted to ensure this remains a top priority in our strategy, diversity, women in technology in particular, and how can we as a business, both from business leaders perspective, senior ELT and HR and diversity sort of individuals in the business, how can we remain that in the next year? So we have something called OKRs, like many tech companies. So when it comes to a people function OKRs, this again became the top line from a senior leaders. It remains a priority, and that's why this has filtered down all the way to the bottom of the organization. And then another point is around, we've been doing a lot. It has been a steady journey, and that was resulted in the recent recognition in the summer of this year, where Sage was awarded the top 50 employers for 2023 for diversity. So we appreciate that. That's a nice pat on the back. However, we continue to know that there is challenges in the industry, and we need to keep on thriving and pushing on. So with keeping that into context, we wanted to build this new fiscal 24 with what else actionable strategies we can do, knowing it's a multi-year strategy. So first of all, we have already got a Gender Alliance, UKI group. It's been thriving for many years, run by wonderful colleagues, but also our partners in D&I. We then started in October a specific community for women in tech. This was launched in October in our head office in Newcastle, and launched with a panel of wonderful women leaders across cloud operations, product and technology engineering leads. So having that panel, hearing from these leaders who have been in the industry and at Sage with various career journeys, gave our colleagues across the globe an insight on what do careers in technology mean. Could it be squiggly careers? Could it be different hindrances you have? So I think that was great to open that through that panel. The other thing that we've done with the women in tech community is launch a specific L&D requirement through the Amazon Web Services Cloud Up for Her practitioner program. So those of you who are in the industry may know about it. It's a basic level entry for cloud practitioners. We found about it. So instead of having this as a general purpose technology certification for everyone, we sort of focused on the females in our organization, got a pilot group together all across the product organization with profiles in engineering, UX, product, QA, to say this is a program across 8 weeks, supported by Sage, by AWS, so that you can get all the learning environment in a safe and trusted environment. So, whether it's modules access, etc., mentorship, experts. So we have the L&D program focused to his cohort. And ultimately, it's giving back, right? What we'll get out of this program, after 8 weeks, you have the ability to sit for this examination and have that badge to say you are equipped. So I think these are some of the things we did to recognize that. We've already got 170 individuals part of the program, so a pilot, but it's a great testament. And then, Sage Foundation activities, where it not only from our organization, but all throughout from our early years, we support girls in schools, but also sort of one event happening next week is a Empower Cybersecurity, where we are sponsoring, but also through our colleague network, going to Year 8 Girls to talk about cybersecurity roles and technology, and a 2-day event to really build workshops, showcase women in tech as a career and Sage. So some of the things that it's important to us clearly, going in a fiscal year 24, we've started the journey, but totally recognize more so to come and do. So this kind of events and obviously the reframe helps us keep a tab on what's happening in the industry.
Sounds like you're doing a lot there, which is brilliant. Lots of stuff. And Huma, from your side, if you look at some of the report details, and obviously we've got the link to download the report afterwards. Try not to do it now, otherwise you'll be reading and listening. Are there any aspects, or were there aspects that you could relate to from your own journey after 10 years out, coming back into the tech industry?
Most definitely, Natasha. I can relate with all of them. The barriers that you speak about in the report are nothing but our gateways to success. Mm-hmm. So you can journey all the way up to them. Either you can just stay there. Worst case, you can go back, or you can just break through them. And for me, personally, the first barrier that I needed to overcome was the lack of confidence. Like all other things I knew, from day one, if I work on my confidence, one day I will overcome it. But don't get me wrong, it's not that easy. As a returner, when you face the real world rejections, it really chisels at your confidence, leaving it to a bare minimum. And you begin to doubt yourself, it lowers your self esteem. But from my personal experience, I think the genesis of the successful journey of a tech returner lies in overcoming all that fear and negativity and just reminding yourself what you're capable of. I would like to end by a quote from Leila Delia. She has said she remembered who she was and the game changed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's a brilliant quote there. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about confidence in a minute as well. But I know one of the other challenges and one of the barriers was the entry to tech as well. So this included lack of awareness and contact with the industry. And I think a key point in the room, or as part of the report from businesses and also leaders, was embracing alternative entries to tech. So the less traditional ones, returners and apprenticeships, etc. Huma, I'm going to come back to you as well. So you've got direct experience of trying to get back into tech after your break. How were you perceived by HR and talent professionals, and how did the returner program perhaps change this perception that you felt?
So when I first started applying for jobs, the response that I got was...
Huma, just put your microphone up a little bit closer.
Sure. The response that I got was that I did not have recent experience, which was true in my case, and also that maybe I would have to take some kind of training, but it would be a paid training, and it wouldn't guarantee a job or an interview. So I was very disappointed, and I was at my lowest. And you know what they say? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And just like that, I came across the Tech Returner program. Now, this program was sponsored by Booking.com, and it was an intense multi-curriculum program. It trained us on both our soft skills and our tech skills, and it made us interview ready. But you know my situation, like on one hand, I had all these people telling I'm not good enough. On the other hand, I had tech returners, and they were providing me with the safe environment. Now here I could upskill myself. I could make mistakes. I was encouraged to do that even. I could ask questions, and I could deal with things like imposter syndrome. All that was really good, but I think the most important thing that the program did for me is that it made me realize that along my journey and during my career break, I had picked up certain soft skills and experiences that helped me now return to my tech career as a better version of myself. And once I realized that, I would like to give an example, like the chrysalis of a caterpillar into a beautiful butterfly. Tech Returners was my cocoon of self-transformation. And once that happened, I think post the program, I was seen by HR in a totally new light. And that's how the program helped me.
Excellent. And Becky, from your perspective, sort of running the returners programs, how do different businesses sort of work when they've got these returners in? Does it change their perception? How does it sort of work from that side?
Yeah, I think we were talking about it before. I think the whole concept of returners is very different to different individuals, and it really depends whether you've been a returner yourself or whether you've been around people that are returning. So the most common perception, like Huma said, is people that have been out for a period of time and haven't got that relevant experience. Well, that couldn't be further than the truth. You know, companies want to hire from, you showed your survey this morning around diversity and talent. These people have had, on average, between 6 and 12 years commercial experience. Then they've had a career break for whatever reason. I'm a parent, I've had a career break, and I often give the analogy around before 9 o'clock in the morning, I've project managed, time managed, negotiated and mediated, and that's just to get my 2 young children out the door. Now, what company doesn't want those skills on top of that experience? So I think rather we need to look at the opportunity of hiring returner talent. I know my background is people HR, I've been 20 years in the industry, and I remember starting off my career and telling people, oh, don't put a gap on your CV because, you know, you don't want people to think you've had a good career gap. Now my whole perception's changed because we should be looking more into the career gap, looking at that opportunity, being curious about what skills and experience that person's got. Because I can guarantee they've not sat there and done nothing for 7 years. They've probably done volunteering, they've done side projects, they've done help, partners raise businesses, etc. And that's what you should look into. If there was a quick fix in terms of diversity, silver bullet, there'll be somebody out there, earning millions of pounds, but there isn't. You've got to look at different ways of wanting to attract and hire that diverse talent. And I can really promise you, how amazing is Hummer to sit there and talk about her experience and all the experience she's got, and to also share that with her. Wouldn't you want somebody like that within your engineering team?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to go back a step. I think it was Huma that mentioned confidence. And actually, the report states that 98% of those questioned saying it was a barrier for getting back into tech. So, Aisha, from your perspective as a woman in tech at Sage, what practical examples or recommendations can you give our audience to help raise confidence for women trying to get back into tech?
Yeah, so I think just alluding to, what my colleagues here kind of touched about, that no one size fits all. As a woman just working in a modern world requirement, and that too now in technology, there are various challenges that everyone faces. So I think first is empathy to going, the business needs to realize that. And then secondly, just, addressing these various challenges with other sort of policies. One thing that keeps coming across my peer network, whether it's internally or externally, is flexibility, because we know about, the examples you talked about earlier. So one thing that I think businesses should do is look at the flexible arrangement, but one that balances both the business requirements and also person's requirements, because there is a balance, a balancing act here at play. So just from Sage's example, we launched the flexible human work policy in 2021, allowing that sort of arrangement where it instills the hybrid environment, but one that works for the employee and the employer as well. So one such example is key for businesses to adopt. The other thing is leave policies. So we know that as humans across our life journey, there are periods of time in our career where we need extended leave through sickness or absences or maternity, paternity. So that's putting those policies, having a real look at what they mean. What are you offering to your employees? I think that is essential. We've put together an enhanced parental leave policy at Sage, which is helping our colleagues in those crucial moments in their time. The other thing, again, is carers, in this lifestyle and fast-moving sort of roles that we have in our personal lives, there are other responsibilities you may have, which are not necessarily childcare. So recognizing that, through our colleague network, we launched something called the Carers Network, which again puts some emphasis on these other responsibilities we have, and just touching upon networks, the importance of this, because sometimes going as businesses, as a policymaker or HR, can be daunting for employees, but giving that in the hands of employee-led groups, colleague success networks, that's where you have a safe, trusted haven for discussion, for feedback, and then get together as a team to then feed it back up to your leaders to talk about various policies or initiatives you can put through. And then finally, obviously we're all here for a career, hopefully, so it's a long journey ahead. What can businesses do for retention? Any progression panels or talent marketplaces, such as what we have at Sage. What can we do to really make it a plan? It's not just there that you hit your mark 2 years in, etc., you'll get the certain promotion, but what are the requirements? How are you going to get into the journey? Is it mentors? Is it buddies? Is it sponsorship? Those kind of things, I think businesses need to think about the full cycle from hiring, development, and retention.
Excellent. I love the ERGs and the employee networks as well. I think they can make a huge difference. So on to the sort of final sort of point, I think it is, before we go on to Slido Q&A. And actually, it's quite the terminology, an exclusionary and intimidating hiring process was repeatedly called out as being a major barrier for women, which is obviously part of what we in the room do. So, Huma, from your side, have there been instances where there's been processes in the hiring sort of structure that actually have helped you on that side, so made it less intimidating and actually helped you along that hiring process?
So from my experience, the entire Tech Returners program and the hiring at Booking.com was based or built on diversity and inclusion. What the program did was, it took a group of individuals from diverse backgrounds, different age, different nationalities, different career paths, who had taken a break in their career and who were excluded from the standard hiring process, and they were given a chance to come back to the tech industry. And it was very clear to us from day one. In the very first introductory session, which was with Booking.com and Tech Returners, Austin Shepard, the VP of Engineering, was asked, why Tech Returners? And he gave a very beautiful reply. He said, because why not? It's the right thing to do. Our customers are diverse, so it only makes sense that our workforce is diverse, so we can understand and help our customers better. So right in the beginning, the environment that was set up was very welcoming and inclusive for us. And after all, what's the essence of diversity and inclusion? It's making people feel that they belong, they are valued, and they are accepted. And that's exactly how I felt throughout the Tech Returners program, during my interviews, how I feel every day that I go to office with my team members, how I feel with every interaction at Booking.com from top to bottom, day to day. And maybe that is why 1.5 years later, as an employee of Booking.com, I can proudly say that at Booking, we filter places, not people. Thank you.
Excellent. And Becky, from your side, are there any sort of practical tips that you can give the audience on creating a more inclusive hiring process as well?
Yeah, I think obviously I alluded to the fact of looking into career breaks, so being curious. I think, again, from the discussion I was having earlier, with understanding so much around the people, HR and talent sort of history, and hearing some of the presentations even this morning, the industry's moved on so much, but we're still making decisions off 2-page documents, Arial 12, black and white, which has the same information over and over again. And we need to look a little bit more about how can we make sort of better decisions, maybe like we look at a returner profile. So it's like a document which gives you a holistic overview of the skills and experiences of an individual, rather than going from date this to date that to date that, and then we're all calculating our heads in terms of the amount of experience or how old that person is, because we're natural, we have biases. I think we need to obviously look at different ways in which we do that. Also, make sure that in terms of your hiring panel, make sure it's diverse and representative of basically the people that you want to attract. But going way before that, I think you need to question yourself why. So for years and years, I always focused on diversity first and then obviously inclusion. And years ago, I had that light bulb moment. No, we need to really focus on inclusivity first. We need to make sure that our infrastructure of our organizations are inclusive to attract that diverse talent. So when you're questioning, like with your engineering team or your senior leadership team, about why do we want more hiring, diverse hiring, make sure it's just not a tick box exercise, because that will come across. You know, you've got to really connect, and everybody will have their own why of which they're doing it. But then also be transparent. You're not going to be the finished article, because things happen day by day, learnings. Think about where you are on your own roadmap. So what's realistic in terms of your expectations now? Where do you want to get to in terms of your own why? And build that roadmap out, because people will be bought into that. People want, like Hummer, will want to come on that journey to help you be more inclusive, to help you attract more diversity within your talent team. So really look at that sort of inclusivity before you focus too much on the diversity.
That was a really nice way to end the formal panel discussion. So big round of applause and thank you very much.